Just told Luke that everybody would be able to watch it. If I don't do that, they will not. All right. So they should be able to. Yes, I'll be glad to do that. All right. Let's take the roll. Paul Cash,
Present.
Gordon Cunningham,
I'm here.
Terry McCulley,
Here.
Damon Jackson,
Here.
David Remy, Drew Kraft,
Here.
Brooke Tharp.
Here.
We do have a quorum and you can proceed with calling the meeting to order.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any minutes from the last meeting that we need to discuss?
Ask for a motion to dispense with the
I make
reading.
a motion that we adjourn the reading of the minutes.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Either way. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, Paul made a motion to dispense with the reading. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from the 12/5 meeting.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I thought you were too quiet. They all heard you. Very good. All right,
Let's see where we at.
number 6.
Yeah. Kevin, can you go over any clarifications?
Yes, be glad to. We do not have any class 1 permits for this meeting, but wanted to make you all aware of a couple of things involving class 1 permit holders. Pinnacle Propane out of Greenbrier has reopened their Searcy office, which is on 16 between Searcy and Pangburn. And that's right, Wendell, isn't it? That's where it's located. And then SunGas out of Damascus opened up a new office in Clarksville. So wanted you all to be aware of those. Those are the only things we have under clarifications.
Okay.
7.
Yeah, any updates on board permits or territory expansions since our last meeting?
Yes. Okay, if you all have a copy of your agenda, you can see under permit applications, we had Tri-State Water, Power and Air. They are a generator company. They received their class 2 out of Bryant. RC Operations, which is a bulk plant installer out of Stella, Missouri, they received their class 2. Jaeger Hardware got a class 3 in Barling outside of Fort Smith. Prestige Auto up in Mountain View got their class 3. Eagle Self Storage up in Omaha got their class 3. Funtown RV got their class 3 in Cabot. R&M Petroleum, they bought out, who did they buy out, Terry? That truck stop. Remember what it is? JJ's.
Yeah.
JJ's, thanks, Chrissy. JJ's Truck Stop sold out to R&M Petroleum. They got their class 3 down in Benton. Pizza Pro in Melbourne got their class 3. And I'm pretty sure that it's not Pizza Pro. It's probably a filling station that has a Pizza Pro in it, but that's what they choose to go by. They got their class 3 up in Melbourne. And then I don't know how many of you all have done any business with Lucas Malakote and 4J Energy. They were the ones that a few years ago put in a transloader down into Queen and then turned that into a full-blown rail site. They put in a transloader in Russellville and they got their class 8 for their Russellville location. And I was talking to him earlier and they moved quite a few rail cars just out of their Russellville location. So glad to have them in the state operating. They got their class 8. There were no territory expansions to report for this meeting.
Are there any other matters that come before the board?
I don't think so.
Kevin, turn it over to you.
Okay. I don't know if you all can you all see the other screen? If not, I did email a copy of the presentation out to you. I want to go over the financial report. Again, I'll remind everybody that our appropriation for fiscal year for FY '25 was 629,000, little over. So far through February, our expenses are $375,857. Our revenue through February was $349,909.31. And then you can see the comparison to last fiscal year. The expenses were 409,442. So we're down about 30,000 in expenses. And the revenue was 412,000. And we're down probably 80,000 there, which that is good news because we're not charging for in our inspections or registration fees right now. So I would expect that to be the case. And at our June meeting, I'll have an update on where we stand with our fund. And y'all will need to make the decision for the next fiscal year, whether we've done this now 2 years in a row. Is it 2 years or 3 years? Just 2 years? We want to make sure that we've got maybe 1.4 or 1.5 left in the fund to carry us 2 years. And I think it'll be close. So we can have that discussion at our next board meeting and about whether we want to continue that or dispense with that for a year. But that is the financial report. I will tell you that we, speaking with our CFO, Whitney Rainey, she is looking to help us with a couple of projects this year. We have 80,000 in capital. It's not on our operating line. And if you all recall, last year we started replacing our HVAC. We have 2 units left to go, a 5-ton and a 2-ton. We just got a quote from the people that take care of our HVAC, and for those 2 to be installed was right at 35. Is that right, Chrissy, in that neighborhood? And then our workstations, I'm sorry. Drew just said it sounds really expensive, and I totally agree. These 2 units we're using a gas furnace, so it'll be a brand new gas furnace plus a heat pump. And so the heat pump is going to work down to probably 10, 15 degrees. And then instead of electric heat strips kicking on, the gas furnace will kick on. So it is a little higher priced apparatus because of how we're going. But I think in the long run, it'll save us money. But yeah, I was a little shocked by that price too. The other 3 units were between 70 and 80. Is that right, Chrissy, when they did that work last year? And then the other thing that she's helping us with, hopefully this fiscal year, is replacing our workstations. They're 9 years old. And I think they're going to be about $2,500 a workstation, something like that, maybe between 25 and 3. We're going to try to get that done with additional appropriation this fiscal year. If not, it'll carry over, and we'll look at doing that shortly after July 1st of this year. Does anybody have any questions about our financial report?
No, sir.
And again, I want to just remind, you can log on anytime to Arkansas Transparency, and you can look at detail. We're an open book. Anytime anybody has any questions, just call. If nobody has any questions right now, then I would
Make a motion to accept the financial report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Okay, thank you. The next thing that I want to talk about is, I think, Brooke, did you second that?
I did not,
Oh, okay.
but I will.
No, I think we just missed who seconded it. Might have been. Oh, Terry did? Oh, did you? Oh, you made the motion. Gordon, did you second that?
I did. Yes. Sorry.
No, you're good.
We both were looking to.
Um, Okay, we have not shared this widely yet, and we're fixing to do that, but wanted to let you know that this is something that, when I started in 2016, one of the first things that I was asked is, when are you going to have the ability to accept payment online? And the answer is right now. So we started this a couple of months ago. We tried it with a select few, and it has been working really well. We had a glitch or two that we worked out, but you'll notice any invoice that comes out now is going to have an additional piece of information. You'll see on your invoices up in the top left, just below the first line, will have a CC and a number. And that CC is your company code. And that's what you need to access your invoices. So you can get to the online pay site by going to our website. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see online pay. You click on that, it'll take you to the third party. And then you'll put in your company code and all your invoices will pop up. And then you just follow the directions. You just select the ones you want, enter your credit card information, and you'll get a submittal verification on it. And I think this is going to help a lot, especially with our class 5 when it comes to renewals, because in the past we send out the renewals, we get them back in, and then Keisha has to sit there and make sure all the paperwork is there. And then invariably there'll be one transport they miss or something like that. And now we've got a check that's too much, or they'll miss one, or a driver. And some of these class 5s are turning in 100 trailers and 100 drivers. And it's, it's very labor intensive, only then to cause to stop everything because the check is wrong. So I think it'll work really well now. We can get all this, we can work the application, and then we can create an invoice and then just let them know that it's there and they can go pay it online. And I think it'll be very beneficial, and a lot of people have been asking for this. So wanted to make the board aware that this is in place, this is working. We're currently taking payments online, and we'll shoot a mass email out. I haven't done that yet, have I? Okay. Well, we'll shoot a mass email out to everybody to let all the permit holders know that that's up and running.
Just out of curiosity, Kevin, are we charging a convenience fee for that?
We are. We're just passing on what we're being charged. So actually, we're not charging it. It is the third party, and you have you don't have to pay online. We still accept checks. So we don't want to force somebody to pay that percentage, but it is being charged, and we're not eating that. If somebody wants the convenience for using their credit card, then they're going to pay to have that happen. But that revenue then is being collected by INA, which is the third party. They're a quasi state agency. They're really not a state agency, but they kind of are. But yes, Paul, there is that percentage being collected, but we are not. Any other questions concerning online pay?
No, sir.
Okay. The next thing that I need you to bring to y'all's attention, we had Tractor Supply in Ozark. They overfilled a 100-pound cylinder, filled it liquid full. A consumer took it back to their residence, which was a camper that they were living in, and liquid got inside the camper. Fortunately, the individual, the owner, was very familiar with hydrocarbons. He was a pipeline guy, knew something was wrong, went out, got it shut down, disconnected his plumbing, drained it. So everybody was okay. So we did an investigation, found out that it was truthful incident, and working with Tractor Supply's safety department over in Tennessee, we fined them $2,000, shut them down for 30 days at that location, and then required all of their certified employees to be retrained. And Perry just went back and put them in business a week ago today. So whenever something like that happens, the vehicle that we have, as far as the board goes, to levy a fine is a consent agreement. And they have signed the consent agreement and they have returned it along with payment. So that's what happened. That was the fine that we levied. And the consent agreement is here. It is ready for our chair to sign, but before he does that, we need the board to approve that consent agreement through a motion. Or if anybody has any questions concerning this, please share that now. All right, I've been there.
Can I get a motion to accept the consent agreement between the board and Tractor Supply of Ozark, Arkansas? I'll move. Get a second?
Second. Terry made a motion. Do we have a second to accept the consent agreement?
Second. I second it, Brooke.
Brooke? All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, Drew, before you get out of here.
Yeah.
You need to put your John Henry on that. Okay, thank you. And I got to tell you all, it's, I hate when things like this happen. We all know that our class threes are our greatest exposure, just because of turnover and everything else. But, the Tractor Supply there, thank you, Drew. Tractor Supply, their, safety department, they're very good to work with. They try very hard to put safety at the top. In fact, they're introducing a new safety program that Clint Weevil is their safety coordinator that he shared with me. And it's really a good program that they put together, and they're going to dispatch this to all their locations. You know, it's just the size of them, the turnover. We just got to stay diligent. But okay, I appreciate y'all helping take care of that. Okay. The next thing that I want to share with you is that our appropriation for the biennium for 26, 27, and 27, 28 was SB 19. The governor has signed that, so now it's Act 54. So we have our appropriation, we have our funding for this next fiscal year. As part of that appropriation, we have $30,000 that the board had asked to put in there that will be issued in the form of a grant to the Arkansas Propane Gas Association. So that is part of the appropriation, and that will happen after July 1st. And I shared with Luke, I asked Luke to join us on our board meeting today, and I was sharing this with him. I don't know right now how we do that. I was talking to Charlie earlier. There's a way, there's a proper way, and it'll get done. I just don't know the vehicle. We don't have a checkbook. So, you know, it could be that Luke has to provide us with a $30,000 invoice, and then we can have a warrant sent. Chrissy, do you know how those grants are typically?
I do not.
Okay,
I do not.
okay. We'll figure that out.
It's a very tricky.
We'll find a way. We'll find a way.
thing,
But,
yes.
but we've been talking about this for a couple of years now, and the money has been approved as part of our appropriation. So, we'll be able to make that happen for the association. Also, we have been talking about the trailer that we've got over there that we were able to obtain from the energy office. In talking with the APGA, and I attended their meeting down in Hot Springs last week. There are two trailers there. I think that you all have seen both of those trailers, and the association has decided that they're going to take them both. And so right now, we are in the process of having the other trailer transferred to us. And then the association is going to be responsible for getting these things up and utilizing them in training. So now the association will have a outfitted trailer, training trailer that they can pull around and utilize in the program. And might have more than one. These trailers are going to be on our asset list, but the association is going to be utilizing them. And one or two things are going to happen before they take them off the lot. And my concern is that they're on the board's asset list, but they're going to be utilizing them. So until we find a way to gift those to the association, we're going to have a lease agreement, a $0 lease agreement signed between the board and the association. And we're just going to require maintenance, upkeep, and insurance to be kept on those trailers. That's all it is. But I want to thank Charlie Moulton for helping us come up with a lease agreement. And Luke, I haven't even, it's hot off the press. I haven't even looked at it, but I'll get with you later if we're trying to effort. There's a real chance, well, probably not a real chance because they got other stuff going on. But Andrea, I spoke with her yesterday, and she was in talks with M&R, which is the marketing and redistribution part of the state. And every asset that is tied to an agency has to be disposed through M&R. And so she is working with M&R to find a way to get those off of our asset and give those to the association. If that happens pretty quick, then we don't have to worry about any lease. If that looks like it's not going to work out, then we'll go ahead and we'll just sign a lease agreement if everybody is okay with that. Has anybody on the board got any questions concerning that or concerns with what we're talking about, how we're doing this?
I have no
Not
concerns.
at all.
And so Kevin, that's not going to be a shared asset with like Missouri. That will be our association and members of Arkansas only.
Those trailers will be gifted or utilized by the Arkansas Propane Gas Association. Now, can I tell you that at some point it might not be pulled across the line for a training? The Arkansas Association is being directed now by, and Luke, go ahead and unmic. So they've got two different organizations up there. One is the Missouri Propane Gas Association. And then there's another, what's the other entity referred to, Luke?
MOPERC, which is Missouri Propane Education and Research Council, the exact same as Arkansas has, just obviously the verbiage is a little bit different. So
Okay, well, one's for profit and one's for not, right? And so it's the for-profit that is managing the Arkansas Association. Is that correct?
yeah, so we have a MLPGA, which is our managing arm, technically that oversees Missouri as well. So if you can envision MLPGA and then MOPERC and the Missouri Association, and then you have Arkansas Association and Arkansas PERC as well. So it kind of funnels that way. There's not a MLPGA Missouri, then Arkansas.
Okay, I got you.
Missouri are within the same.
Okay, but I know at least one of those trailers is going to be designated for use in Arkansas. They wanted them both, and Energy and Environment wanted to get rid of them both, Paul. So it could be that one of them is utilized. And Luke, right now, does Missouri have a training trailer that you're using?
No, we don't operate out of a trailer. We carry our stuff in a pickup truck with a camper shell. Currently, we have a trailer that we could use here at my office in Missouri that we could pull any of our stuff. So my association board, my PERC board, there's been zero discussions about using those trailers in the state of Missouri at this time.
Okay, all right. Does that answer your question, Paul?
Well, I don't care one way or the other. I was just curious if we were going to share resources like that. And by the way, Missouri, welcome to our way of life. We love trailers.
Thank you for the welcome.
And I know that to get J.C. Cox, who is the, what is his title, Luke?
Executive Vice President.
He's the executive vice president of the association, and he is going to be the face of the association in Arkansas. He has been traveling Missouri, getting trained to be the trainer. So I think inevitably there's going to be some sharing of resources between the two. Sometimes it just makes sense. I will let you know, going back to the grant, I had a discussion with the APGA board that whenever this grant comes from the board to the APGA, that needs to be deposited in an account here in the state, and that's not an issue. They have 2 bank accounts in the state of Arkansas, and April Jeck, y'all probably know, some of you probably know April. She is Don Anderson's daughter. She is works for Scott Petroleum currently, and she is the president of the association. She's on the checking account. And then Neil Pretty, who owns Seba Gas down in Murfreesboro, he's the treasurer of the association, and he's also on the account. So that money that we allocate from the fund that is paid in by Arkansas permit holders will be going for the Arkansas Propane Gas Association only. Okay. Any other questions concerning the trailers?
Director, if I could.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, board members, good afternoon. How are you? I drafted that lease with the intent that the director would be signing the lease on behalf of the board, and belt and suspenders, looking at the statutory authority vested with the board as well as the director, and the fact that the trailers are technically an asset of the board.
Correct.
I think it would be a good idea that a motion would be made to allow Director Fosler to actually enter into this lease agreement, because I've got him as the signator. And if the board doesn't want to do that, then obviously the chair would have to sign. But it's more expedient, I think, and easier if the board would make a motion to allow the director to enter into this agreement, just in case it's necessary. Hopefully it's not, but I would put that in front of the board and see if they would consider it.
Charlie, and I'm sorry, you shared that with me and Drew, and I just
No,
failed
it's fine.
to.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So you might just make a motion to give me the authority to sign a lease agreement if it comes down to that.
Can I get a motion to have Kevin sign a lease agreement on the trailers? Came down to that?
I'll make it.
Second,
Okay.
if it hasn't.
I'll second it. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Uh,
Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Charlie. Keep us on our toes. Okay. The last really business thing that I've got on here is I think I updated everybody on where our bill that's currently working its way through the session over there is SB 275. This is the bill that would allow the board to promulgate rules referencing 58 and 54. It is currently in the House, and it's been assigned to the Ag Committee in the House. It passed the Senate with consensus, not one dissent. Oh, no, I think one, but that senator wasn't voting on anything. And a few things about this bill. When the bill passes, we will have until April of next year to make sure that we have rules promulgated and in place. And part of the bill was that time frame, so we're not operating with no rules. So the existing rules are going to remain into effect until April of next year. By that time, we have to have the new rules promulgated and put in place. In addition to allowing you all to adopt 58 and 54 in part, it also did a few other things. on about half of our permit applications, we required a financial statement. On class ones, we did not require the financial statement. And so we had talked about this several meetings ago. And so we had that language struck that we're not going to require that in going forward with any applications. That barrier will be removed. Also, if y'all remember back in the 80s, we have a statute that says that our inspectors will go in and will look over the statements from our dealers and to make sure that any credit balances remain on the statements. Well, if you all remember, that was done for one specific multi-state marketer back in the 80s. And, whenever they would leave a credit balance on the books for 1 month, and then they would yank it off, and the customers never saw it again unless they wrote it down and remembered it. And that's akin to stealing. And so the board back then voted for this to happen. Well, a couple of things. That multi-state marketer hasn't operated in the state for over 15 years. They were bought out. And while I have all kinds of respect for our inspectors when it comes to what they're looking at in propane, I don't know that any of them CPAs. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to have them doing this. And so we had that whole statute struck. SB 275 took care of that. So in addition to allowing us to adopt 58, it also took care of those two things. So wanted to let you all know about that. And then the Senator Irvin was kind enough to run our bill in the Senate, and Jeremiah Moore. Terry, do you know Jeremiah Moore? He's from Clarendon. Okay. He's a representative in the House, and he's carrying our bill in the House for us. So if any of y'all do live in the territory, or he is your rep, shoot him a thank you for helping us with that. Now, if you can see on the slide, we will not be adopting 58 and 54 in totality, and we will not be adopting the latest version. We will be adopting the 2024 version, and then we are going to set aside those things that we do differently or that we want to do differently. There are six things that we have never enforced that 58 has. And so I just want to run through them. I think a couple or two, three of these are going to take care of themselves, but just need to be thinking about them. And then we need to make a game plan going forward as we start the promulgation of these new rules. All right. The first one is on-site forklift cylinder fill. 58 allows this. We have had this specifically language saying that this is prohibited in the state of Arkansas. And so that might be something that the board wants to maintain. The second thing is OPD valves. We have never required OPD valves in the state of Arkansas. 58 requires them up through 40 pounds. So that's something that we need to be thinking about. And I don't necessarily, it's the board's pleasure whether you want to discuss these today or not. That was not my intent. But certainly you all have the purview, and it'll be your option whether you want to do that or not. I just wanted everybody to be thinking about these. You remember in 2011, there was the internal valve mandate that came out, and everybody had to have their valves changed. The way that Sharon and the board had handled that in the past was they did not require everybody to blow storage down, replace it with internal valves. But if you put in a new storage or you broke the plumbing on the old storage, you had to upgrade. So that's how we have handled that to this point. Of course, we've talked about our pressure testing, and our pressure testing when it comes to new or additional plumbing is much more stringent than 58 or 54. So do we want to maintain that? The next thing is bulkheads. If you look in 58 and you do a search, you will find the word bulkhead used one time. And it refers to a fitting going through the firewall in an automotive conversion. The only reference that it makes to something like a bulkhead is, it's in 6 point, I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and find it. But it talks about protecting the hose, the loading hose, and then it makes reference to a device, all right? And they do this by design. They don't want to spell out, they want to spell out the requirement, but not how the solution to the requirement. And so we need to talk about if we want to keep our bulkhead rules in there and have it spelled out like we currently have it. And then the last thing, I think this is not even anything anymore, but you remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, 58 required two-stage regulation on everything. And we never have done that. You can't get a single-stage regulator for a residential installation anymore. So I really think this is really much to do about nothing. But I wanted to point out these were items that we differed from and always have with 58. And so we'll have to talk about which one of these we want to hang on to going forward. And I would like to get you all, this is kind of my feeling. We've got a couple of different things. Part of the promulgation process is to have a meeting where the industry is invited to give their opinion on things. And I think that we need to do that. We are making a huge change in the state of Arkansas, moving away from our code book, adopting 58 and 54. And I think it's important that the board hears from industry. The second way we have got to get this information is through our association, is through Luke and JC and the Propane Gas Association, and put this out before them. But as we move through this, at some point, this board is going to have to make the decision, and there could be other things that come to mind to you all that I've not listed here that we want to opt out and pull out and not be a part of. But Chair, I would just open it up for discussion with your board members if they have anything that they would like to add or have any ideas or.
Any other additional items anybody on the board like to speak of?
Well, this is Damon. I think on the safety end of it, we should keep, I mean, a lot of our book is based on safety, and some of that I wouldn't want to give up.
Right.
Like on bulkheads, I think it needs to be spelled out, how to install them, what they need to be, how many feet, how many, the depth of burying them.
Right.
So I just don't think we ought to give up some of that safety for anything.
All right. Good points.
Kevin, didn't we have a meeting back a few months back and go through the book and things that we wanted to keep? Didn't we put all that down at that time?
We did, and I can tell you, and I presented that to the board, and it was probably not at our last meeting, but the meeting before.
I think it was a call meeting.
And that could have been what that was. And at that time, I was not successful in finding anything about bulkheads. And I said, I would like some time to do some more digging on bulkheads. But I don't know, at some point, this will need to be made in the form of a motion and for the board to officially adopt parts of 58 and then hold out those that we want to, as like Damon suggested, maybe bulkheads, pressure testing, on-site forklift cylinder fill. How, at the end of the day, after you all have all the information that you think you need from the industry or your own knowledge, then those items will have to be set forth in a motion to give me direction moving forward as we promulgate our rules. And then I think, Luke has shared with me the state of Missouri, they have got something similar to this. I think they call it their blue book. And it, it has their statutes in it, plus it has where they differ from 58 and 54, if at all. Every state almost that has adopted 58 and 54 has this. I think Oklahoma calls it their red book. And it was brought up in the board meeting last week that when we do this, we probably need any color, maybe cardinal red should be our book. Right now it's orange, and that is a bad color. Orange is going to be right out. But we'll have our own book that, it won't be extensive because we're going to be relying on 58 and 54 for the majority of our rules. But we will have some things set aside if the board chooses that. What do you all think about the vehicle? And I'm not sure about the procedure, and I'll probably have to get some direction from Charlie or from Pete over at E&E as far as the process. To me, it almost feels like we need to put out the word, hey, we're going to start the promulgation process of our rules. We would like at this date and at this time, anybody that would like to speak and give their opinion, be here. And we do that before we go any further. But I don't know if that's the proper procedure or not. Charlie, can you come to the table and talk about?
Well, procedurally, what you're supposed to do with rulemaking is set forth both in statute as well as the governor's executive orders. But in terms of decorum, that's an entirely different matter. So if decorum, if the board wants to go ahead and before they ever initiate rulemaking, have essentially a public meeting and just say, this is what we're thinking about doing. Come on in. We'd like to hear your feedback. Before we start the initiation process, there's nothing that prohibits you from doing that if that's what you want to do. But in terms of the actual formal process, you got to go through the governor's office first and get authority and approval from her before we move forward. Then you initiate rulemaking through a board vote, motion. Then it goes out for public comment. Once the public comment comes and concludes and either through written or verbal, then it goes back to the board for a formal motion and vote to finalize the actual rule adoption.
Right. And so either way, the public will have an opportunity to chime in. And it just depends on whether it's the board's feeling to do that on the front end as an information fact gathering, or if it's to do that as part of the promulgation process. So if it's part of the process, then you all would have already voted and set these things aside, and we will already have that drafted into a draft form, and then we'll put that out for public comment. Either way, whichever way the board wants to go, I just would like our permit holders to have a opportunity to share their thoughts to the board, one way or the other.
Well, let me add a caveat to that in terms of the actual formal rulemaking process. When you hold a public hearing on rulemaking, you just have a hearing officer sitting there soliciting the comments. There's no opportunity to provide feedback at that juncture, at that point in time, to the commenter. But if you have a public meeting, there's a give and take associated.
There you go. Maybe that is where I was going. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you all understand, Charlie, if we go the promulgation process and then just as part of that process, we have a public hearing and everything is already set in draft form, at that hearing, they're able to speak, but you're not able to interact with dialogue. That's just a procedural deal. But if we just have a public meeting, then any board meeting can talk to whoever's at the mic and draw it out more. Did I say that right, Charlie?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
There's a distinction, a legal distinction between a public meeting and a public hearing. And under formal rulemaking, what you have is a public hearing. But it's not unusual, and DEQ used to do this all the time, where they would actually do, in conjunction with a public hearing, a public meeting. So they would have the public meeting first, and then they would gravitate into the formal rulemaking process with a public hearing. They do that a lot with their permitting decisions. So,
Okay, all right. And I'll take this opportunity. I don't know if you all can see the lady in the white dress that's sitting kind of back there small in the picture. That's Julia Rainey.
Yes.
And she is with the legal department over at E&E, and she's going to be helping us with the promulgation process. And she's brand new, and the first time, or not brand new to us being over here. So she's just been listening and probably would have a lot of questions when we got done, but glad to have Julia here to help lead the effort. So, hey, Paul, what's your feeling? Are you fishing, PC?
No, I'm not fishing. I just set my phone down over the side.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I did miss that last deal. I was talking to somebody that walked in my office here.
not a problem. Hey, so we were talking about the getting feedback as we move through the promulgation process from the industry. And we have two different ways to do that. One, we can just have a public meeting where we can have open dialogue between the board and the permit holders. The other way is for you all to set in draft form the rules, start the promulgation process. As part of that is a public hearing. At that public hearing, we can just accept comments. There can be no dialogue going back and forth as a procedural process. So I was just wanting your input on what do you feel better doing?
In previous years, and I don't know this experience because I don't think any of us have much experience with this. Do we have many that would come and voice that's outside the board? We usually don't have many unless it's something just very important, and they're probably going to get our attention before the meeting, because we all know that the meeting happens before the meeting happens most times,
Yeah, and there's really one thing, and Luke might get you to chime in on this. There's one on here that I know that there was going to be some people want to talk about, and that's the on-site forklift cylinder fill. A lot of your multi-state marketers want to see to have the ability to do that. I also have one independent that thought we were going to be talking about that today and wanted to be here to speak against it. So I know there's going to be interest on that one there. And you all, will have to make that call. The others, I don't know that there's a whole lot. I don't know, what the deal is with OPD. Internal valves are kind of taking care of themselves. We've said any new bulk plants, well, the new bulk plants have been going in since 2011, all with internal valves. Probably, I don't know if there's anybody, most of the permit holders that I have talked to when it comes to pressure testing, they don't want to adopt the lesser pressure testing. I don't know. To me, the big one is going to be on-site forklift cylinder fill, that we would get a lot of people here. And a lot, we only have 50 or so that hold permits, but that might want an opportunity to speak to the board on that.
Again, I hope that we're available, and I would want anybody to be able to speak to, though, that was passionate enough to take time to come.
Right.
And to be able to be heard on that. So, I would be, if we're asking if that's going to be open or whatever, I would have that open for discussion and make it clear, like a discussion period, maybe in one of this is when we're going to discuss this, and then we're going forward. I would definitely have a period of time for them to invite them and tell them exactly what our menu is on that.
Okay, maybe you led me to something here, Paul. Let me ask you, do you want the ability to ask a question to whoever's at the mic?
Okay.
Would you like that as opposed to just listening? Would you like the ability to ask a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the public meeting. So that's the difference, board members. If you all listen to somebody talk and all of a sudden you want to ask them a question, then we would need to format that in the way of a public meeting, and have
Well,
that.
and Kevin, it can't be Gordon. It can't be a free for all. I think that it needs to be an organized.
Oh,
I'm sure
absolutely.
that I'm preaching to the choir on this, but it needs to be organized, and they need to, if they're going to come and speak, they need to put in, some sort of notice that they want to come and speak. They can't just come up there and just start ranting. It lasts forever.
No, I agree, Gordon.
Time,
And duly noted.
time
Uh,
limit and reservation for speaking time.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a public meeting, and we would just be open with these items that we said, hey, and there could be other things that come up. There might be somebody come to the mic that says, hey, I operate in Oklahoma. I also operate in Arkansas. And have you all looked at this? There's no way you want to adopt this, that we've never thought of. So it gives that opportunity as well. But Luke, were you around when Missouri adopted, or was that so many years ago that you weren't even thought of?
No, I wasn't. Well, I don't know exactly when that happened, but I wasn't part of the decision there. So
I got you. As far as the association is concerned, um, do you have a preference, one over the other, how the board handles the promulgation of the rules?
my opinion would be, as what you were speaking to as last, is the flexibility to allow your board members to ask questions, because in my opinion, you're a little bit handcuffed if you don't, because you won't be able to get the full context of what each other is thinking in that particular instance, because you can sit there and talk for 3 to 5 minutes, whatever you limit it to. And during that comment, that, there could be something of, well, the question or comment, hey, have you thought about this? And you handcuff yourself not to be able to answer that. And I don't want to say waste time, because public being involved in some of these things are not a waste of time. However, if you're not able to interact, in my opinion, you're handcuffing yourself.
I got you. So what I'm hearing you say is the association would support a public meeting kind of forum to discuss these things.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Luke. So, Brooke or David, Terry, Drew, do y'all have any other input? What's y'all's feeling?
I think we need to have a public meeting myself.
Public meeting? All right, Drew?
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question related to public meeting, and then I guess making sure that we will be able to have something substantial enough for them to develop questions around. I guess at that point in the process, are people going to be able to ask questions that are going to be meaningful, even though we have that ability to have that interface? And are we going to have to repeat this process? And so are we putting ourselves in a position where we kind of have to do this twice?
Possibly.
I think it, Brooke, it will have to happen twice, but at two different ways. The first one will be the fact gathering. So a public meeting, and what I'm envisioning, and of course I'll have to make sure that legally this is right. We would put out notification of a public meeting to discuss the adoption of 58 and 54, to the entire industry, and even spell out some of these things that we have not ever adhered to that 58 has had. Set that meeting and then allow them to come to talk, to share, to allow you guys to ask questions. Then from that, at the next board meeting, you all would make a motion to promulgate a draft that is presented to you. And then that would start the rulemaking process. And as part of that, there would be a public notice that has to legally go out. By that time, we should know we're good with everybody. You know, there might be somebody that objects and you all think, okay, we're sorry you object, but we're moving ahead, because it could be something silly. I mean, or whatever. So they might take that opportunity to come and log their complaint or their disagreement with what we're promulgating, and that's fine. And so, Brooke, that's the point that legally they'll have that opportunity during any rulemaking process. But by that point, we should already have the feeling of the industry at large, and we should all be on the same page. So when this goes before the rulemaking, goes to the governor, goes to the secretary, goes before the legislature and the committee, that they know the industry as a whole supports this. Does that answer your question, Brooke?
It does, and I like the opportunity. I like everybody having the opportunity to have their voice, their concerns heard at the highest level, and making sure that we have that opportunity to interface. And I think that is very important.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin, this is David. Do you think it would be wise, like for these 6 items, for you to put that in, some sort of writing where people could have that to look at what our rules are now, and for us to discuss that, and then anything else that you felt like in 58 and 54 that we needed to bring to light?
Certainly, absolutely, we can put that into communication. We can distribute that through the association and directly to all permit holders.
Way they know what we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely. And they can give their input on these items. And like I said, I don't know, do we even need to have single stage regulation? I mean, to me, that one's kind of taking care of itself. You cannot buy a regulator that's legal for a residential application anymore. Are you all good with just pulling that one off there? Not
I
even.
would say pull it off.
Okay.
Yeah, no need to wasting time on that.
Okay. All right. So I think that everybody has spoken to this. Chair, I would like to have a motion that as part of our process, not the promulgation process, but as part of our fact-finding process, that we schedule a public meeting to discuss with the industry 58 and 54. And before we do that, as far as the board members are concerned, do you all have a preference to when this meeting would be, whether it's afternoon or of an evening, or a one day of the week? Which day of the week works better for you all?
It couldn't be part of our quarterly meetings? Does it have to be a separate time?
No, it doesn't, Damon. But my thought is that if we have this as a separate part, then by the time we get to the next board meeting, we'll already have that information. And we can have something in front of you all. So we've got our next board meeting is 3 months from now. If we wait till 3 months, you don't want to, I don't think you'll have the opportunity to make a decision with a motion at that board meeting if we have the public meeting as part of it.
Kevin, we've done this before years ago, and you got to do a separate meeting. It has to be done separately.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to have that meeting, get everybody's thoughts together, and then vote on something that's meaningful. If we had this meeting in the next, even in the next 4 weeks or 5 weeks, then that would still give me enough time, based on your direction and based on what we heard from the industry, to put something together for you all to look at our next meeting. And then it would just be tinkering a little bit wouldn't take a lot of time, and then you all could give me some direction through a motion to start the promulgation process. Am I saying this right, Charlie? Are you following the logic? Okay,
No, you're saying it correctly.
okay.
Well, we're not going to please everybody with timing. I think we just have to set a time and shoot for as many of our board members to be there and make this known to the association and the industry and give them a specific time.
I prefer the afternoon.
I
Afternoon,
prefer afternoon as well.
okay. Everybody
Sounds
good with
good to me.
afternoon?
I'm good with that.
Okay. And typically a Wednesday or a Thursday, I would think would be better than a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday as opposed to a Monday, Friday.
This will be an in-person meeting only, correct?
Hadn't
Okay.
talked,
Hey, Kevin, is there any way we could have a couple choices? I'm trying to ask for the moon here, but just to make sure we get the most people there as possible.
well, you know, my concern is that our board is able to be here. And then we'll leave it up to the industry like Paul said, if they want to speak about it bad enough, they'll be here.
If it's that important to them.
If it's that important to them, they'll be here.
Yeah,
And-
I was talking about when we set the meeting, when you're getting ready to set that meeting date, could you give the board just a couple different days for choices?
Sure, we could do that. We could do that. Because we're talking about maybe 4 or 5 weeks out. And a lot of you all don't know what's going to be going on that particular week on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll do that. We'll take a look at sometime in the next month to 6 weeks, set a couple of dates, and then allow the board to respond what works best for you all. And then we'll set that date and get it out. Does that sound
Sounds
good? Okay. Charlie, we don't need that in the form of a motion, do we? Okay,
No.
I'll clear that then. All right, very good. Well, I appreciate talking through that. And I think that we've got a direction moving forward now on this. Luke, do you have anything from the association or anything that you would like to add or speak up or at this point?
Not really. Just wanted to thank you guys for allowing me to be a part of this today. Thank you, Kevin, for being a part of our meetings. I think at least the short time that I've been here at the association, we have a great partnership started, and we'll do whatever we can to help the industry for the betterment of the industry moving forward. So just blessed to be a part of it.
Thanks, Luke. We feel the same. I think that our training is going to be really good going forward and our relationship strengthening. Okay. There's just three more things that I need to go over and then I'll turn it back to you to close us out. All right. You know that over the years we have had board members that have termed out. And we have sent recommendation letters for those positions to the governor. And we had, back in January, we had 2 more board members that this happened to. David Remy and Damon Jackson were termed out. And would like to send a recommendation letter through the secretary to the governor for these positions. Now, we've got a little different situation. David believes that he's done and would like to go to the House. All right. I don't know if you all know Nick Remy. He is Gene's son. He is David's nephew. Is it correct to say part owners?
Yes.
Okay. He has filled out the paperwork and let it known that he would like to be considered to serve on the board. And I've known Nick for years. Really good guy, makes his home in Fort Smith. Damon has made it aware that if the governor would so move, that he would like to continue to serve. So I think that giving her the opportunity to do that would be good. we have two different districts as they were drawn up in 2007, which that's what our statute refers to, District 4 and District 3. We have one in each. And so I would like to submit those two names, but in the event that the governor or whoever, the powers to be, does not allow Damon to serve beyond his two terms, two other names to add to that would be Charles Beckham. He has filled out his paperwork. Are you all familiar with Charles? He owns Affordable Propane down in South Arkansas. He also served in the Senate for a term. And he has affordable, is it affordable, Terry? Affordable propane? Rural? No. What's the name of his propane company?
Budget LP.
Budget LP, I'm sorry. No, affordable's in Perry's.
Yeah.
Budget LP, down close to McNeil. And then I think that most people on the board knows Ray Steele. And for years, he served Southern LP Gas, the Gray family down there. He now works for the Cooper family out of Texas. And they have a scratch plant that they started a few years ago in Nashville. And then they just acquired Frick's Butane, E.J. Frick's business from Clay and his brother just recently. So those are four names that we can send over as recommendations. And of course, at the pleasure of the board, you could suggest other names. Does anybody have a problem with any of those names?
I
No.
don't have any. I make a motion that we accept those names as recommendations to the governor.
Second.
Second, Brooke.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, thanks. We will get that done and send it to the secretary and ask him to deliver that to the governor. Okay. We should have done this at our last meeting, but somebody was not here. Terry McCulley served as our chairman last year, and we've got a plaque that I would like to present to Mr. McCulley. Did somebody just log off?
I don't blame them.
All right, Terry McCulley, Chairman of the Board 2024, and recognition of your leadership and service to the Arkansas Liquefied Petroleum Gas Board.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
And Chrissy, make sure he gets that.
Thank
box.
you.
Okay, and then the last thing that I have that I need to let you all make you aware of, I don't know if you had the opportunity over the years to meet Larry Bingle. He was my immediate boss in between me and the secretary. And Larry, great guy. I think he wanted to retire a little while ago, and the secretary talked him into staying and helping. But he has chosen to retire, and he will be doing so at the end of April. I don't know, so he will not be at a board meeting for y'all to talk to him. But it's been a pleasure working with Larry. Very knowledgeable individual. He will cause a void in the department. But wanted to let you all know that Larry is going fishing. All right,
All right,
that's all I
Ready?
have. I'll turn it over to you,
I'd
Chair.
like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Hey, no, just one moment before everybody gets out of here.
Hey, we're adjourned.
No.
No more.
Hey, Damon.
Yes.
I let everybody know about your mama with an email, but I just wanted to, before we got off here,
Yes.
let you know how sorry we were to hear the news of your mother. And then with that, we can, but I didn't want everybody to get off here without acknowledging that. And we've been thinking about you and praying about you, Damon.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Appreciate everybody being with us, and you all have a good day.
All right. Take care.
Yes.